Welcome back, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Jamie.
I'm Justina.
And this is
Just So You Know.
Today, we got a little history lesson for ya. We are going to be talking about how veganism is not a new trend. This is something that's actually very old. When you look at our year 2024, that's basically saying that Jesus was born 2024 years ago. It's our whole system is kind of based off of Jesus.
Based off of this one person.
Yeah, there's one person who was an animal rights activist.
And
who was crucified for opening cages inside of a temple. Justina got us matching bracelets.
What would Jamie do?
What would Justina do? WWJD.
Or what would Jesus do?
And there's this whole concept in Christianity that people like to base their actions off of what would Jesus do. So the question is, what would Jesus do in today's time where animals are being factory farmed and exploited and used for entertainment and cosmetics and all these weird things? What would Jesus do? Probably not hurt them.
Yeah.
History takes ideas and concepts from individuals and it's pieced together in a story, but there are some stories that are left out.
Right.
And there are some stories that are simply manipulated and not told. And so in this episode, we're going to see that. And I think that this idea that veganism is a new thing or it's a trend it stems from the rise of social media. It stems from YouTubers in the 2000s that got online and people like Freely the Banana Girl and these raw food eaters that are, kind of share their diets. And you see this trend on the rise. And so it's this concept that, veganism is this new trendy thing that everybody's doing. And the term wasn't actually coined until 1944. So despite people eating a certain way and having a belief that animals should be free, it wasn't termed vegan.
Right.
So let's get into some facts. So through history, there's people that definitely had these standpoints of wanting to avoid harming animals, and you can see that the word vegan, where it actually came from and was traced back to when they defined it, was the Vegan Society. In 1944, there was a guy named Donald Watson and his wife and 5 of their peers. They all gathered together in a table and they said, well, we know what vegetarian is, because a lot of people use the word vegetarian for thousands of years. Right. But to actually abstain from dairy and eggs, there wasn't a term yet. Right. So what they did was they took the beginning of vegetarian, cut out the the middle, Aryan, and then added the end of it. So they made it vegan. So they shortened it. But what my fact is that they had a few names that they were going to call vegan instead.
Ooh, tell me.
Are you ready? Okay. They were going to go for dairy ban.
No.
Get her out of here. Next. Vitan.
Nah, that's aggressive. Even though that sounds like we're Vitans.
Maybe it's kind of cooler than vegans. Yeah. And then benivore or beanivore.
No, get out of here.
Get out of here with that.
Okay, I like vegan. Yeah. Vegan's a good one because those were horrible options.
So anyway, that's how they came up with the word vegan. And that was back in 1944 by the Vegan Society.
Love that. I know that we have a flag now. I don't know about before, but we have colors, right?
Is that your next fact?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my next fact.
Cute. So my next fact is that November 1st is World Vegan Day.
Oh.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because it marks the 50th anniversary of when the Vegan Society was established.
Okay, that makes sense.
So my next fact is it actually ties into the roots of veganism and also the population of vegans today, because I think a lot of people think it's a white thing.
They do. A lot of people do think it's a white thing.
They think that basic white blonde bitches like me are the only vegans to exist, but it's not true.
It's not just a white thing.
No, the most amount of vegans are actually
black.
People of color.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it's rising in those communities more than ever. More people of color are going vegan than any other race is.
As they should, because most people of color are from highly vegetated areas, I can only speak for the Caribbeans, right? All these places that are on the equator are people of color, naturally, there are people of color who live in those regions, and there are just more fruits and vegetables naturally grown there.
Which is what we should be eating more of over processed foods and over these high-priced vegan products. You don't have to buy those.
You don't have to buy them.
You can get rice, beans, seasonal vegetables, go to a farmer's market if you can. I understand that certain communities don't have access to this. We're not necessarily talking directly to them.
Right.
But what I am saying is that
it's not
fact
a white
about
thing.
veganism is it is absolutely not a white thing.
Right.
And you have veganism, which originated in Hindu cultures, which originated in Rastafarian roots. Which is definitely not white.
Yeah, it's like, oh, look at these plantains. Have you ever heard of plantains? Like, yes, we do, motherfucker. I have known about plantains. When did you find out about plantains and avocado? Like, my family, we grew up on those things. So it's just about taking our power back. And I'm so happy you said that the numbers are growing even more in the communities of people of color. And I just want people to get their power back. Like
nowadays, we have more resources than ever. You have over 1 million signups with Veganuary, which is a great source where I actually went vegan that way, where you pledge January 1st to go vegan and you do it for a month and they send you resources. And it's kind of like a challenge where you don't feel pressure because you're like, let me just try it for a month and see how it goes. And you don't feel overwhelmed by it. So we have over 1 million signups with that. So it is growing. I mean, of course, there's certain setbacks with things. There's a lot of misinformation out there. But this episode, we are going to show you how throughout history, going back 10,000 years ago even, how veganism has, and the concept of just not wanting to hurt animals has always existed.
It's always existed.
It might not have been, the majority, but it certainly was a topic that came into philosophical viewpoints. There's a lot of quotes in religious texts that we're going to actually read through. Yeah. And something to look forward to is we are going to do a little quiz.
No.
With Justina.
Why?
A+ student over here.
For effort. I mean, I was a great student until I realized I was being fed lies and being forced to learn things that I'm never going to freaking use.
Right. People just want you to regurgitate information. I'm like, no, you actually have to learn the concept.
I was like, we're just trying to pass the test. No one's really learning these things.
No, we're going to learn these concepts. And the good thing is it's multiple choice and there's hints.
I hate multiple choice. It's so much pressure.
I used to think that when I would take tests that there was some type of weird little plan that they had where it was like 2 A's, maybe there was like a B or C, and then the pattern repeated.
Because it becomes about passing instead of learning the material.
And I'm like, damn it, like I failed.
I'm like, there's no way it's BB. There's no way it's BB.
Right.
So it has to be BCB.
Exactly.
Or BEEDBA.
It was so confusing.
I used to hate that shit. They really fucked us up.
I was like, Miss Cassiopo, are you trying to decode something for me? Like, I think that there's a message in here somewhere.
Yeah, at some point I used to be like, fuck this. B, B, C, B, I, B, ba, B, D, E, F, G, ba, ba.
But if one of our tests were about the history of veganism, I would definitely ace it. You could give me open-ended questions. I would have no problem with that.
I'd probably still fail it. But if it was like a conversation, I would ace that. My teacher used to be like, Justina, you're confusing the shit out of me. When you're in class, you're like, blah, 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 da, 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 having the most fruitful conversation. And then the test comes and you're like.
You get nervous. Yeah, well, I would go up to my teacher. I specifically remember being in first period, LaGuardia High School with Miss Fallon. And I would go up to her desk during a test. And I would be like, so I feel like this question is worded very strange.
You were probably so hilarious in school. They'd be like, this bitch with the questions again. I'm like, God.
She would actually help me. She's like, okay, let's break it down.
She's like, it's okay. Break it down. It's C.
I'm like,
it's C, JC.
I'm like, thank you. And then I go back to my seat. And then like 2 minutes later, I'd be back up. I'd be like,
actually, this question.
So yeah,
Which one is it? A, B, C, D.
Right. I'd be like, are you sure we learned about this person? I don't know who Pythagoras is. Anyway, so
I believe that, not me. My teachers would just be like, Justina, can you shut the fuck up for like 5 minutes? I'm like, oh.
History was always something, and you only have so much time when you have math and science and all these other subjects that I find history so entertaining when you actually break it down and really You love when I say that. Well, when you actually think about it, it's super interesting because history repeats itself. You can look at different trends. I mean, it's very
frustrating,
interesting when you actually have time, but when you have all these other subjects in school and you're studying it, it gets confusing. And not only that, I don't think I ever learned about veganism in history class. No. I'm like, some of them did torture people. I'm like, why are we idolizing Christopher Columbus?
Yeah, what the heck? That's my issue with history. It's just
it's very violent sometimes.
It's washed with poop. And I'm like, stinky. I don't like it. Okay, next.
My poop doesn't sting.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Jamie's poop doesn't stink.
No, it doesn't. After going vegan, it's actually not bad. Earthy, but not bad.
Whoa.
Anyway, so, okay, next segment, we are going to really get into the history. So what is the problem, and why are we making this episode, and what do we know about the history of veganism?
Yeah, why are we making this episode?
So, people think veganism is a trend. They think it's something new, and we are here to tell you that it is not. And there have been quotes in many different texts over the years, stemming from different philosophers, coming from people, religious leaders, and these concepts of just not wanting to harm animals are nothing new. And it's actually something that I think human beings, we are compassionate, and it's just through social conditioning we are strayed away from that. So
we intuitively know.
Are you ready for your history lesson?
Ugh, I guess.
Entertain
me.
Entertain you. Well, it's going to be fun.
Okay, let's go.
All right, let's go back around 9,000, 10,000 years ago to 7,000 BCE era. Dinosaurs weren't around then, honey.
Rule the earth.
Okay, they were not there. But what does BCE mean? Do you know?
Before Christ ever existed.
Before Christ, exactly. So he wasn't even born yet. So it's really interesting when you look at the timeline.
Right.
It actually, when you're in 7,000 BCE, it starts going down. So the years go to like 6,000, and then it gets to 0 when he was born. So 7,000 BCE, there was a town called Megara.
Wow.
Megar. Let's say the H's are silent. Megar.
Okay.
It was an Indus River civilization. And in that civilization.
Oh, what?
The Indus River. It was
Indus River.
Indus River, yeah.
Civilization,
yeah.
Okay.
And they had Hindu roots in this place. And Indus River is Sanskrit for Hindu.
In the river? What? In the river.
Miss Renee, help me out here. Shit.
It's okay. Take your time.
So
in this river.
The reason that we even bring up Hinduism is because a lot of ancient Hindu texts have references towards animals. So the Bhagavad Gita, which is a ancient text, a Hindu text, that they have quotes. One quote in particular that I pulled, it says, "One is dearest to God, who has no enemies among the living beings, who is nonviolent to all creatures." And that's a yoga book that a lot of people read, which I do plan on reading at some point, the Bhagavad Gita, and they promote nonviolence and compassion towards all living beings.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that's over. We already see these texts happening over 9,000 years ago. Also around that time, the laws of Manu existed. It's basically like a book. There are books of the laws of Manu, and what they state is that meat cannot be obtained without injury to animals. He who does not eat meat becomes dear to men and will not be tormented by diseases. There is no greater sinner than that man who seeks to increase the bulk of his flesh by the flesh of other beings.
That is intense. I mean, makes sense.
9,000 years ago, you're seeing texts that are stated there is no greater sinner than a man who basically seeks to eat animals for their own gains. That's what it's saying. The reason that I'm kind of focusing on religion here is because back 10,000 years ago, that's what ruled.
Right.
We weren't governed by the state. We were governed by the church.
Yeah.
So then you have the Hebrew book of Genesis. It was also included in the Old Testament. Genesis 1:29-31 states, you know this one, "I give you all plants that bear seed everywhere on earth, and every tree bearing fruit which yields seed, they shall be yours for food. All green plants I give for food to the wild animals, to all the birds of heaven, and to all reptiles on earth. Every living creature, it shall be theirs for food." Yeah, I mean, this quote is saying that
taste the rainbow, not Skittles.
Taste the rainbow, eat what God has given us, which is the seeds of all the plants to eat. Yeah, so what's also super cool is you see these religious teachings, the Buddha, you see Jainism, And
Jainism
is a religion that their whole pillar of existence is ahimsa, which means nonviolence. Like these people, it's applied to all living beings, all plants. They will not even drive a car because they're worried about killing insects. They see a soul in all living things. And then you have the Buddha around 600 BCE that comes out, and there's all these different texts from Buddhism that say we practice to relieve the suffering of others. May all beings be happy. May they be free of suffering. And the Buddha stated that they promoted a vegetarian diet. So then you have,
and that was before major animal exploitation when it comes to the dairy industry. So
absolutely,
that makes a little sense.
Yeah, and not only that, but throughout history, you see different individuals like this guy Akhenaten. He was a pharaoh in ancient Egypt.
Akhenaten,
and he was freaking awesome because he banned animal sacrifice. He would not let people sacrifice on animals, and anytime people would bring up offerings to an altar, it would have to be fruits, vegetables, or
yeah. I'm like, I hope you bring me that goat because that's gonna be my new baby, not because friend. I'm like, not because we're gonna do anything crazy to it.
206 BCE, you see the Han Dynasty creates tofu.
Wow,
nice, love it.
They created tofu.
It's been around forever.
That's crazy.
So then you also see poems and writing and that comes out that like the Metamorphosis poem comes out. It pleads people to stop eating flesh. Then you have the birth of Jesus. And we talked a little bit about in the beginning of this episode how Jesus promoted love, compassion, and kindness to all living beings. And his brother actually was a very strict vegetarian. There's a lot of hypocrisy in religion and spirituality as a whole. It's like you want to preach love, compassion to all living beings, to God's creatures, and then you're sitting down and eating violence. It doesn't make any sense. And I love that you brought this up because I got a poem from thousands of years ago that says, "Oh Muslims, I see you fasting during the day, but then to break your fast, you slaughter cows at night. At one end is devotion, at the other murder. How can the Lord be pleased? My friend, pray cut the throat of anger and slaughter that ravages of blind fury. For he who slaughters the 5 passions, lust, anger, greed, attachment, and pride, will surely see the supreme Lord face to face." Why did meat end up becoming the mainstream ideology, and why did using and abusing animals become something that everybody did? And the reason is
money.
In the temples back in the day, they were modern day slaughterhouses where priests would make money from buying and selling animals. It was the form of exchange. That's how people made money. That's how they made a living. So, I mean, you also look back in the Roman times. When you look at the Roman gladiators, they were predominantly vegetarian. And everybody likes to say, oh, well, you need strong bones, or, oh, hunters and gatherers, they ate, animals. It's like, first of all, they did not eat animals 3 times a day. It was when they had a catch. It was for survival. But the Roman gladiators, what's so interesting is these are some of the strongest people. They're people that would battle and that were fit, exactly, and healthy. And their diet, and they've dug up bones and tested the bones, and it showed that their diets were mainly cereals, vegetables, and fruit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Vegetarians, vegans.
Right.
So, also we brought up Pythagoras, but there's also Plato and Aristotle. So Aristotle was Plato's student, and a quote that I have from Plato, which is, I think, super interesting, is that Plato said, "The gods created certain kinds of beings to replenish our bodies. They are the trees and the plants and the seeds." And while I don't think they had a full, total animal liberation mindset, like I think Aristotle, his student, ended up criticizing him and saying, well, animals are not as good as people. They're not on the same pedestal. Let's stop comparing them. They definitely didn't see animals in the vegan mindset, which is total animal liberation. But Plato, who was a very well-respected Greek philosopher, or who is now very well-respected, said that these animals are not food.
Right.
So, I mean, listen, this history lesson is to show you guys that these concepts of do no harm have existed for thousands of years, really since the beginning of humanity. As much as Justina and I would like to take credit for really starting the vegan movement,
I don't want to take credit.
We can't. It's been around for many, many years. And so when you fast forward to the 1800s, you come across the first people that were outspoken about being vegetarian. Okay, so fast forward to 1806, you have the earliest concepts of veganism just starting to take shape. Dr. William Lamb, who I love that his last name is Lamb.
That's cute.
It couldn't be more fitting.
Yeah, he gave himself that name. I'm going to be called Justina Goat.
I'm just going to stick with Jamie Logan, but these people were among the first Europeans to publicly object eggs and dairy on ethical grounds. So, yeah, does it say why? They talked a lot about health and how eating vegetables and cutting out any products from animals would
be more beneficial.
Makes sense. I think they also did it for the animals too.
Right.
And there was some pandemic risk. I think at the time there was an outbreak of something that had to do with animals, and so they spoke out about it. So you have these concepts being pushed forward, and then the Vegan Society forms. This was over 80 years ago, and they started to actually define what veganism is, because over the years, they termed it vegetarian. It's like, wait, are you eating eggs? Are you eating dairy? Are you wearing animals?
Right,
so
that part.
Do you know the actual definition of veganism? The term, the textbook standard term.
I don't, but can I take a whack at it?
Yes.
Okay, so if I were to imagine, if I looked up the word vegan, it would be, the definition would be along the lines of not participating in any cruelty regarding any animal or any living creature. Period.
Yeah, that is it. I mean, if you guys want the actual standard textbook definition, it says.
I just ripped my earring off.
The hoops are coming out. Things are getting crazy.
A++. Want to get a sticker?
You will be getting a sticker after you complete the quiz, which is on our next segment. It's coming up, guys.
Okay.
So the definition of veganism is a philosophy, a way of living which seeks to exclude as far as is practically possible.
Right.
All forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals used for food, clothing, or any other purpose, and by extension promotes the development and use of animal-free alternatives for the benefit of humans, animals, and the environment. In dietary terms, it denotes the practice of dispensing with all products derived from animals.
That's why I said period. I was just making my definition a little shorter than that. But I mean,
I think this term actually takes all of the quotes that I just pulled from all those years and puts it into text that encompasses all of that. So you almost wonder, how people felt back in the day when they were maybe one of the only vegans or vegetarians they knew, and the term vegan wasn't even coined, and you're like, wait, what am I? I just want animals to be left alone, and it's like there's no definition for it, and it's like, am I weird? And we still sort of see that today because veganism is not the mainstream belief.
No.
So after this little history lesson, I hope you guys learned something. We're gonna do a little quiz and this quiz is going to look over some luminaries, some visionaries, some.
Oh my God.
No, I won't make it too hard. I'll give you hints. Okay. Are we ready?
I don't have a choice.
This is the Vegan History Quiz coming to you all now here live on Just So You Know podcast. Welcome, everybody. Yes. Welcome to our contestant, Justina Adorno. Your first question is, who is known for this quote? If slaughterhouses had glass walls, we'd all be vegetarians. A, Paul McCartney. B, Pythagoras. C, Leo Tolstoy. D, Johnny Appleseed.
A?
Yes. Yay! This man, blank, said, "It almost seems to me that man was not born to be a carnivore." Now I'm going to give you a hint. E equals MC squared. So
Einstein?
Yeah.
Okay.
Find the vegan. A, Charles Darwin. B, Rosa Parks. C, George Washington. Or D, Christopher Columbus.
I think it's A.
Charles Darwin?
Yeah.
It is Rosa Parks.
Shut up.
Yep.
Rosa Parks was vegan?
Rosa Parks was vegan. She was an advocate of liberation for all. And she
that makes sense.
Did not eat animals. Okay, next question. Who wrote this quote? We got to get through this episode. We got 5 minutes.
Shut up.
So
Okay.
You're doing a lot of talking over there.
I'll just shut up.
All right. Who wrote this quote? The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. A. Gandhi. B. Theodore Roosevelt. C. Claude Bernard. Or D. Miley Cyrus.
I'm gonna have to go with A or B. It's A. Okay, yeah, A, yeah.
Okay, Gandhi. Yep, Gandhi wrote that, and he was a really big proponent of compassion, kindness to all living beings. He was vegan, and this was in the 1800s. He was born in 1869. So, all right, which president is vegan? A. Bill Clinton. B. Thomas Jefferson. C. George Washington. Or D. Barack Obama.
Is Barack Obama vegan now?
Well, I just want to say Barack Obama had a plant-based 60th birthday party, so he might be well on his way.
Okay.
It's A. Bill Clinton.
Wow, Bill Clinton is vegan?
Yep. Who wrote it? The day will come when men, such as I, will look upon the murder of animals as they now look upon the murder of men. And this was by an Italian Renaissance painter, artist, inventor.
Leonardo da Vinci?
Yes!
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Spot the non-vegan. A. Susan B. Anthony. B. Rene Descartes. C. George Bernard Shaw. D. James Cameron. Spot the non-vegan. Rene Descartes, George Bernard Shaw, James Cameron, or Susan B. Anthony.
James Cameron?
The non-vegan is Rene Descartes.
Who the fuck is that?
A scientist, philosopher in the 17th century, and he was known for testing on animals. Really, really disgusting behavior.
Yikes.
So I think you passed the quiz. You did really, really well.
I did much better than I thought I was going to do.
Yeah, you did really well. One guy that I wanted to just tell you all about that we didn't bring up is Leo Tolstoy. He says, a human can be healthy without killing animals for food. Therefore, if he eats meat, he partakes in taking animal life merely for the sake of appetite. And to act is so immoral. And not only that, he also has a quote that says that we should get closer to the suffering as opposed to staying away. And that's how we then will act and change. Whether taxes are put on meat, whether we face climate catastrophes where it forces us to change because animal agriculture is destroying the planet, whether we develop cultivated meat. I know you hate that and you don't have to eat it.
I don't like
but
that.
Other people can eat it. Or whether,
just us learning how to make our own foods. I think that's the first step. We need to I need to learn how to make and grow food, healthy food. And I think that is the key.
Okay.
That is the key, learning how to grow our own food.
For sure. I think that we should become more autonomous. We're very reliant off of everybody else to pick things and grow things and slaughter things for us. So, yeah, I think the future of veganism is a whole other episode in itself, but I hope that after today's talk and episode that you guys learned something about how veganism has been in human culture since the beginning of time.
Right.
I love that.
Me too. It makes me feel like I may have had ancestors that also were vegan and were fighting for animal rights. It's like it's in our blood. Like it wouldn't be such a thing if how can it not be such a thing is what I'm trying to say, if there's so many people who care about it and who have always cared about it and who are shutting down these companies and organizations that are exploiting these animals. It's because it's within us to care about it's in us to care about them. Yeah.
We're not so crazy after all.
We're not.
You guys, if you wanted to learn or check out more information on this, go to PETA.org. They have some great articles on there that show more quotes from famous people over the years. And there's a lot more history that I couldn't even get to cover it just in this hour segment.
Right.
But it is very interesting. And I think we can also use these patterns of behavior to help us going forward.
Yeah. The voiceless is... I don't know.
Be a voice for the voiceless.
Be a voice for the voiceless. Please let us know what you wish we talked about on this episode. Any vegans in history that you know about that we didn't mention, and continue the conversation. Please share our podcast. We just want people to feel the community and to know that it is possible to be vegan, healthy, happy, have friends, make a difference. It's all possible. So please share, comment.
Yeah, we might have only started off with a few vegans in, the Greek Roman times and ancient history, but now we are a tribe of millions.
Yeah.
And we are only growing. So thank you guys so much for watching. You can go follow me at It's Jamie's Corner.
You can follow me at Justina.Justina.
Go follow PETA at PETA. And until next time, we'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back.